Know thyself. Those two words seem to me very most profound. Maybe the two most profound words I know. And if there is a theme to this book, it is that. It is about a man who must face his true identity, his true reality, and his true nature, and must admit it. I want to thank Alan for the award and the Texas Association of Authors for the award. Supernatural fiction, and it is. It's a lot about werewolves and witchcraft. I delve a little bit into origins of voodoo, some references to the West Indies, etc. It's set in a French colony in the 1750s, where lots of bizarre things can happen in the wilderness of swamps and bayous. And what I'm going to read is a short excerpt from the first part of the book, where his family is thinking that he was bitten by a werewolf, and that since he survived, he will now become that werewolf, or like a werewolf. So they were having dinner that night and discussing it. His fiancée, his cousin Pierre, and Grandmama, who is the eldest there. Grandmama continued speaking slowly and steadily, trying to make her point. But I didn't understand. She goes, "Yes, my son, many men have a beast deep within that, when certain conditions are met, the beast is released and the human side disappears temporarily. But I thought you said it was all in the mind." My voice raised a pitch. "And the mind is most powerful, my son. If it believes strong enough, then anything can happen. And a man become a beast? Legends, myths." I didn't like the direction this discussion was going. It made me increasingly uncomfortable. Physically also, it was becoming very warm inside their stifling cabin. We needed to change the subject, perhaps speak of our coming wedding, anything but this. With all due respect, Grandmama, I for one do not believe in witchcraft and voodoo. It's not rational. Let us talk of, show him, Selina. She interrupted me. Show what the priestess gave us for protection. Protection? I was dumbfounded. Protection from what? From whom? It was then I noticed the silver charm hanging around Selina's neck. She unlocked the clasp and, taking it off, showed it to me. It was a 5-pointed star. It is called a pentagram. I instinctively reached for it, but it scorched me at the barest touch, not hot as a live coal. I dropped it quickly. My head started to reel. I thought I might fall out of my chair. The puzzled look on my face was surely comical. I noticed Pierre had produced his favorite companion, his flask, out of his coat and was taking large gulps from it. Not usual at the dinner table, even for him. "What is happening to me, Selina? Grandmama?" I sobbed. I was getting sicker by the minute. I held my head in my hands, still burning from the powerful charm. "What are you saying? Speak plainly, please." Selina put her arm around me, caressing my head and hair and trying to calm me. Grandma was the only one strong enough to speak, her voice quiet, calm, but frank. "We are saying that we believe," she took a deep breath before continuing, "that you were bitten by a werewolf, and since you survived, that you may now carry the same curse within yourself." What an astounding thing to say. Yet my very first immediate thought as she said this was my memory of that strange man at the ceremony, the man I thought I knew, who seemed to know me, the man with those same blue eyes that haunt my dreams still, the same eyes as the beast they all apparently thought was a werewolf. I suddenly jerked my head up. What was that noise? A howl? He was calling for me. No, it was nothing. I must be going mad, I thought to myself. It's not possible, I said out loud. It can't be. It cannot be like that. I cannot be like that. It's not possible. Not possible. I repeated the words again, trying to convince myself even more than them. I felt that I was about to vomit. I was so nauseated. Selena held me closer. Pierre drank some more. Grandmama was her stoic self. I am sorry, my son, mon fils, but if it is true, tonight when the moon is full, you will turn. No, no, I screamed and jumped out of my chair. It isn't true. I am just sick and weary. We think we can control it if you let us, pleaded Grandmama. Please, Selena added. I turned and abruptly dashed outside, Selena and Pierre calling out after me. I ran far and fast in no particular direction, just away from that stuffy cabin. Fresh air was what I needed. Fresh air and moonlight. No, not moonlight. I tried to stay in the shadows, even though when the moonlight bathed me, I felt immediately better, less sick. All I needed was a good night's sleep, and not to dream of wolves or of dead horses or voodoo queens, nor of strange men with blue eyes. Somehow unconsciously, I found myself back at our cabin. The strange itching was again upon me. It was even worse than before, the night before, if that were possible. I felt like literally peeling off my skin as if it were clothing. I laid down on my bed, trying to calm my thoughts. I loved Selena's grandmother, but she was superstitious. They held wrong, silly ideas. To think that I was the victim of the curse of a werewolf was beyond reason, beyond nature. I was just feverish, needed rest, restful sleep, and dream of something pleasant, something beautiful. Dream of Selena, my fiancée, or of nothingness, emptiness. Empty dreams would be just fine. But my dreams that night were nothing if not empty. Neither were they of Selena, nor were they of a peaceful nature. Tossing and turning, I drenched the sheets with my sweat. I dreamt that I had traveled, walked, ran, quite rapidly in a short period of time, and now was on some bayou, unknown to me, a great distance from the village. I was alone, solitary, looking, hunting for something or someone. I foraged through woods, waded through swamps, in those wetlands that usually make me feel so at home and so comfortable. However, in this dream, I was excitable, searching endlessly, and all the while with an odd, unaccountable hunger. Then I saw a small light out on the water. A lone man was in his pirogue, night fishing under a full moon. I noticed he became startled at something, began thrashing his oar about in the air, attempting to hit something, trying to fend off some attack. I saw his face up close, a face of fear, a terrible shock of fear that must have reached down into his soul. Whatever horrific sight he saw was obviously wanting to hurt him, perhaps kill him, yet I could not see the culprit. He reached for a gun. I heard his screams, his shouts for help, but I could do nothing for him, only watch helplessly. I heard his neck snap, his back break. His eyes became dark and wide, frozen dead in fear. Haunting my dream, I looked down, and his chest had been split wide open by some great force. Ribs and flesh separated in two. I noticed I held something in my hands. It was warm and wet and throbbing. It was a human heart. I awoke with a start. It was dawn.
Does anyone have any questions for me?
I do actually. Could you tell
Just
us,
a second.
oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay,
No,
we're ready.
you.
Okay.
Could you tell us about the kind of research you do for this? It must be a lot, but maybe just the main sources or the background you draw on to try to capture that period.
Practically nothing.
Okay.
My I knew a lot about different areas of the Deep South, and as a kid, I studied the werewolves and things. And Universal was my big thing. Wolfman, Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, etc. But I have my own theories about this in here, like about the silver, different things. So it's different, even in the voodoo and witchcraft. I just drew upon a lot of research I had done in the past. I did do a study on Haiti in college and their voodoo, and that impressed me. She went to an actual ceremony, the author, and saw things that seemed humanly impossible, contortionist, etc. And I put that in the book, a lot of that, but I tried to do as little research as possible.
Basically, I was going to ask what had motivated you for your book, but I think maybe you answered that from your question. But is this the first in a series?
Right, this is my first book, my debut novel. It's basically the memoirs of Henri LeBlanc. And when he first came down to the South from the British expulsion of the French. I include part of that. I include a part of the history of plantations. I don't delve into it too much, but it has to be brought out and described. So he owns a plantation, or becomes part of one, called Sans Souci, which means without care. And so it's all described with great imagery. Hey, Robert.
So you said you were introduced to voodoo. You studied it somehow in college. What kind of class was that?
Oh, well, actually, that was just I guess a book review. I don't remember, but it was at ACC, and it was Latin American history.
Oh.
And so you each pick a country in Latin America. And even though Haiti was different than most of Latin America, I chose it. And he said that was fine, so I went with that. And the French, and my little bit of what heritage I have, that's what I came
I
with.
see.
I include a lot of that. Martinique, and there's a short story within the book about the maker of Henri, or the man who bit Henri, and his story comes from the Caribbean. And but the book continues in its second series because it is, like I said, Henri's memoirs, and he does, even though he is not human, he lives among the humans, he marries among the humans, he lives, he has an immortality, and he meets other immortals, and they're the ones that can be dangerous and very interesting characters. Some wanting revenge and others wanting love. There's some unusual romance in it.
So when is the next book coming? Part 2.
Well, I already have parts of it written. It's the rough draft has been done. I know pretty much the beginning. I have to tie all of the subplots together and the new characters. But again, he has to come up with. He has another evil revenge coming in there, and wants to destroy the plantation, and etc. Keep the two protagonists away from each other.
How many books are there going to be total?
You really want to know?
Yes.
Okay. Well, he lives quite a long time, but the third book is going to be a more research book about the history of the Civil War. And each witch in the book has a familiar. And the familiars are not simple little cats or household cats. They're gargoyles and griffins and little people, different things like that. Whatever the witch needs at that time to help them. And the third book will be more historical, with the sense of the Civil War coming, and it's probably the second time Sanssouci gets destroyed, but by humans. Fourth book is a very good one about evil carnivals, and then we get to see a character rise that came from this very first book. If you remember Andre, he had a very small part in here, but he comes back. And that is very interesting, what I'm going to have. There's going to be like the House of the Midnight Sun, but it's they're all immortal characters that can go to this club and be themselves. Renard, which means fox in French. He was some experiment, like Dr. Moreau and stuff. There's just a lot of different characters.
During the process of your second book, I understand you have a blog that teases people with some information?
Well, yeah, and I forgot to put some blogs out lately. I've just been so busy, but yeah, about the different romances and the new characters that come in. I can't give away too much, but there's clues all throughout the first book that are already into this second book, and they're there. And I put them there purposely. So. And even the evil witch, who's just evil as can be, I'm going to make a story of her too, because she's probably misunderstood. We'll see just how evil she is.
Any additional questions?
Yes. Are you drawing on any of your own experiences with witchcraft?
Oh, well, no, not at all.
I don't say, I've run into people that are...
Right. A male witch came up to me and he said, don't use the word warlock, we're male witches. And he said warlock's a Hollywood term. But I do know a little bit about the voodoo, and I studied that and kind of just added it in. But my influences were not all literature. I mean, I love to do book reviews in school, but film has influenced me more than anything. Film noir, Alfred Hitchcock, the Universal pictures when I was young, and most of my characters come from somewhere in certain movies, and what they look like and acted like, but also in my own experience. There's a little bit of me in here, a little bit of my friends in here. No, I don't know who.
Or which guy?